Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's March 8th, 2015, and this week we're going to make a study of fingerstyle guitar, and in particular plucking hand fingering concepts. And this week's question was sent in from Alex. He's out in River Falls, Wisconsin, and he wrote in with this email. I've been practicing my fingerstyle guitar technique, but wanted to know if there was a way I could better develop my plucking hand fingerings. Even though I am practicing, I'm still not very good at fingerstyle guitar. I keep getting stuck when it comes to well thought out plucking techniques. Could you make a beginner's fingerstyle lesson on basic plucking hand fingering guidelines? From Alex in River Falls, Wisconsin, USA. Well, thanks for writing in, Alex. When it comes to playing fingerstyle guitar, well thought out fingerings are a must. So in this lesson, I'm going to introduce the Spanish approach for the fingerstyle guitar naming system. We'll cover how to place more attention onto the plucking hand fingerings that you apply, as well as how to alternate fingerings across the string sets. Plus, we'll also take a look at tracking notes on adjacent strings and notes on the same string. So let's zoom in on the guitar and start running through the exercises. Well, in planning fingerings, it's important to start with how your hand extends over the strings. Each finger sits over the strings in different regions of the layout of the string sets. So we need to take this into account. But first, let's become clear on the names of the plucking hand fingers. In fingerstyle guitar, we use the Spanish naming system for the plucking hand. So the thumb will be P for pulgar. The index is I. The middle finger is labeled as M. The ring finger is labeled as letter A for annular, and although it's seldom used, the small finger is labeled as CH for chico, which as an adjective in Spanish just means little or small. So let's begin with a simple finger tracking exercise to get used to just using the most common three fingers, the thumb, index, and the middle. So what I have here is a quarter note exercise. It's very straightforward. We're going to start off on the 6th string and the 3rd string. We're going to double pluck those as a small 2-note chord, and that's going to happen with the thumb and the index finger. Up above that on the 2nd string, 7th fret, we're going to play that note with the middle finger. So we'll have those notes together. Then we're going to move up, we're going to use the 9th fret of the 5th string and the 8th fret of the 3rd string. We're going to pluck that with thumb and index, and then hit that same 7th fret with the middle finger. So we have. Okay, then in the next measure, we're going to take two 7th fret notes on the 5th and the 2nd strings. We're going to double pluck that with the thumb and the index finger, then drop down to a 5th fret note on that 2nd string. Then we're going to head over to the 5th fret of the 6th string and the 4th fret of the 3rd string. We're going to double pluck those notes with the thumb and the index fingers. And then come forward here on the 6th fret of the 3rd string with the middle finger plucking that note. And then head back to 7 and 8 again with the pluck happening on thumb and index. So the whole thing will be like this. So just repeat that as an exercise. It's a very easy plucking study, but it'll start really getting you to focus on correct pluck technique ideas with the right hand. And really what we're doing is we're just assigning, the thumb to the lower bass notes of 6th and 5th strings, and then we're assigning the index and middle fingers to those 3rd and 2nd strings. So it's basically an economical approach with that right hand plucking technique. So next, let's take the complexity of the fingering for the plucking hand up to a slightly higher level of control. I'm going to use a variation on the first exercise that will bring in more notes that will run in series, making it necessary to either alternate the plucking hand fingers, or sometimes we'll work out fingerings that move across the strings and then alternate to take care of a series of notes on the same string. So it's going to get a little bit more complicated. Let's just run through the new example here. It's going to basically be very similar to the one we just did, except it's going to kind of bump it over to the world of 8th notes. So we'll be pedaling like that instead of all the quarter note attacks. We'll be pedaling now. And you can see there how that approach is being used. I'm using thumb and index, and then on the upper note I'm using middle, and then coming back index, middle again. Just like that. The next two notes will be thumb and index again. And then the pedaling occurs once more, so just like that. Then we're going to move over to those 7th frets. If you'll recall, we were using the 5th and the 2nd string 7th frets. We're going to double pluck those notes this time, however, with the thumb and middle finger. And then we're going to drop down to the 5th fret of the 2nd string. And then we're going to go across with the index finger. So it'll be thumb and middle, index finger to go and do the drop down note, and then going across to the 3rd string open. Just like that. And then we're going to come back to that 5th fret note again on the 2nd string with the middle finger plucking that note. All right, and then we're going to head over to, instead of using the 5th fret 6th string as a bass note, we're going to substitute that with its unison of the open 5th string, and we're going to have a little melody line coming up there. So we'll have thumb and index doing the open 5th string along with that B note on the 3rd string 4th fret, and then we're going to jump over to an F note, and we're going to use our thumb on the 4th guitar string, coming over across just like that. And then index, middle finger, you can hear we're going back up again to that starter chord, and just like before, we're playing those notes on that final chord there with the thumb and index finger. So nice and slow, here's how this part goes along. Once more. Okay, I'll do it one more time. Well, since one of the more challenging techniques for the plucking hand and fingerstyle guitar is the idea of being able to execute a repeating pattern consistently, I've created an exercise idea that focuses on just that idea. In the next exercise, I've organized a fingerstyle riff where the pattern is very similar and it's just moving from one chord harmony over to the next. The two chords that we're going to be following through on are E major and A major. It's going to be kind of a blues-oriented swing feel idea. It's going to go like this. So it's fairly simple, and the idea though is that you want to follow through with consistency on the right hand plucking fingerings that you're using. So we're going to start off by hitting an open 6th string. We're going to use middle finger to play the high 11th fret 3rd string note there. Then we're going to pedal the open 6th under that, and then get a 9th fret with index finger. We're going to pedal again, and then on the upper 2nd string we're going to have a 12th fret moving over to a 9th fret. So we repeat that, and then we head down over to the 5th position to cover the sound of the A note there. And it's the same fingering idea. The consistency just sticks with it. We have thumb, middle, and then we go to index on those 3rd string notes. Then we cross over. We have middle finger, and then we have the index dropping into that 5th fret. So 7th fret, 5th fret. So you do that twice on each chord as the exercise. So here it is one more time. Well, for the final exercise, I wanted to take things a step further and apply more finger use from the plucking hand, and this is going to be done through an arpeggiated pattern that I have here. We're going to go across C and G chords, and we're going to include the thumb, index, middle, and ring fingers this time. One other idea applied in this study is the use of repetitive thumb hits on a series of scale tones on the 4th and 5th guitar strings. We're just going to do a repetitive idea with those notes. And you know, while this approach isn't entirely necessary, I mean, you could walk it, and you could use the index and middle fingers. It's just for beginners a lot of times, I find it's easier to accomplish with the lower strings if you just use repeated thumb technique. But we're just learning, so basically, as time goes on, it's a good idea to try both techniques. Use index and middle, as well, like the walking style technique. Get that into your playing. You can do some exercises to develop that technique. But again, in this exercise that we have, we're going to be using the repeating thumb concept. So first off, let's just run through the way that this arpeggiated fingerstyle idea sounds, and then we'll explore the fingering used by the plucking hand. So it goes like this. Right? So the fingering technique for that plucking hand is going to be using the thumb in the low bass note and the ring finger for the furthest out first string. So we have those two played together. Then we're going to go across the inside of that C chord using index, middle, and ring fingers. Then we're going to go from the 4th string open, and we're going to have a 3rd fret of the 1st string played with the thumb and ring fingers. Then we're going to walk down middle and then index, all down those same notes. So those 3 tones, there's a G, an F, and an E, and they're all played with ring, middle, and index of that plucking hand. Then on the next string over, when we get to that D at the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, we're going to be using middle finger to pluck that note. Then when we get to the next measure, we'll have the outer tones of the C chord. We're going to play that with the thumb and ring fingers, and that's just because we are going to be using the index to sweep across from 4th string to the 2nd string of that C major chord. So it's a little bit different technique there. We're in the 4 inside strings, and we're just getting a real economical plucking approach there. And then we're going to head over to that last chord, and we're going to use the thumb and the index and the middle fingers to pluck those notes, and then that's where we have the drop down with the thumb happening all the way over to that C note on the 3rd fret of 5th string. And then we're just going to use index, middle, and ring fingers to do a plucking idea, an action there where we're plucking. And you can tell how I'm doing that too. There's a technique to that where the fingers curl into your hand. Some of the poorer techniques that you'll see with fingerstyle, one of the main ones is that the hand is moving away from the guitar too much. It's almost like you might as well say the wrist is the proponent to the pluck rather than the fingers. That wrist should really be steady, and then the plucking should take place from the fingers themselves. Another really important thing to watch out for is anchoring. I'll see a lot of times, even on YouTube, with some pretty decent players, I'll see some anchoring going on. I sometimes wonder with those people if they have pain that generates in their hand or their wrist. I mean, you should never really get any kind of pain in your hand from playing, but sometimes I do run into people that have bad technique. Anchoring techniques can really promote some serious pain. Sometimes even, I've heard, I can't remember which guitar player it was, they had some trouble using fingertip picks. You may have seen those plectrum ideas that go on the very tips of the fingers, and they had to eliminate the use of those because they were having some, pain and some tendonitis problems with their plucking hand. So keep all that stuff in mind. Just keep a really loose, relaxed wrist. Have the plucking action come from the right place of your hand, which is basically going to be that, that idea of the fingers curling into the palm of the hand like that. So just to wrap up, I'll play that melodic idea one more time. It's kind of an arpeggiated thing across those chords. time and the practice that a guitarist places upon applying well thought out fingerings for the plucking hand will make a major contribution to both better performance and how smoothly the fingering will generate, throughout the piece that they're playing. Now, before we wrap up this lesson, it's also very important to mention that while fingerings can have many standard preferences, their use within a piece can be varied from one guitar player to another player. So it's really important to analyze and question every fingering approach that you apply. Find the fingering that works the best for you, test different ideas, and pick the fingering that feels natural. But bear in mind that just because a fingering initially feels natural, it doesn't mean that it's always the best type of fingering to use and apply. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now. The Music Reading Phase 1 ebook has over 30 pages of comprehensive project lessons covering the entire fifth reading position on the guitar. Music reading charts and drills will work to help students memorize the placement of the fifth position notes, including important sharp and flat tones. Several original and classic pieces of sheet music will help students to gain a solid understanding for this region of the neck. Rhythm studies, duration examples, plus song and location drills along with 19 MP3 audio tracks makes this one of the best music reading courses available online. Music Reading Phase 1 is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com.